Hey there. Hey, do you mind if I show you three gates that I use on toms especially? Now, I usually don't gate, kick, and snare. I know some people do. I typically only gate toms when I gate toms, and that's if they're real ringy. I've got three gates that I go to, and I would like to show you all three. This may be a little bit more lengthy, and probably I'll regret not putting this into 3 videos, but I'm going to show you what I normally do. Okay, so here is the first gate. It is the stock gate from Avid, and I'm going to take this and get back to it. So I'm going to first of all just reset this to factory default. Okay, I hope I don't regret that. All right, so what I'm going to do is show you real quick what we're working with. This is a very tom-laden song that we're working on here, and I'm going to loop this. So you hear there's some residual stuff in the background. Now, I probably wouldn't worry about this as much unless it was ringing out, but here's what we get to in the verse a little later. Okay, so one of the first things I want to show you is how I come about getting a gate going. Okay, I love using the sidechain for EQ. I like taking that fundamental frequency of the tom and then going from there, because usually when you're gating a tom, you're trying to get a snare out of it, or you're trying to get some of the leakage out of it. And if the sound, or if the velocity of what you're trying to gate out is the same as the tom itself, then you're kind of working uphill a little bit. So I'm going to show you on all three of these. Okay, so typically what I'll do is, let's just turn the threshold all the way up, or all the way down. It's not gating at all, really. So I'm going to listen to this sidechain right here. This sidechain, I'm going to turn it on, and then I'm going to turn this on the bottom. So you got low, you can pass the highs, pass the lows, which might work for some things, but I'm actually going to find a frequency. So let's listen to it. You hear that? Doom, doom. That's what I'm trying to figure out, or what I'm trying to dial in right here. It's too clacky. So we're trying to make that doom, which is unique to that tom, make that open the gate. So now that that's done, I'm going to turn the listen off. So now what's sending to the gate is that tone, really. That tone kind of passed in there. So let's do this. First thing I would like to do is let's turn this up so we can see it. I'm going to turn the ratio all the way up. I'm going to set this up to the extremes and then make it musical. I tend to always do that unless I've already created a preset, which makes sense to do too. So we're going to do attack and release. We're going to make everything extreme. Very fast attack, very fast release, hardly any hold, and then we're going to mess with the threshold, and then we'll get to the range in just a minute. Okay, so everything's pretty extreme. Okay, now we're going to make that tone. We're going to make that tone open up the gate. Now you see why I'm making it so extreme, because I want to hear what's opening the gate, not what's left over from the gate being open or anything like that. So now if you notice here, there's a snare that happens in between, so it's not getting that snare because we have the gate dialed in. Now let's start loosening it up and making it sound the way it should, like with the gates. Okay, with the making it sound natural, like we don't notice it's a gate. Okay, so let's start with the attack. And then do the hold. So the hold, we're trying to make it sound like a tom normally would if it weren't gated. So we're getting the tom to stay open now. Now we're going to adjust the release. Now that's starting to sound pretty natural, okay? Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to turn the ratio down just a little bit because we don't need it to be on or off. That's not really the point of it. The point of it to running any gate is to just kind of let some of the bleed out. We still want it to be believable, and this is where it becomes believable here, okay? So I'm going to take the range, and the range, we don't want it to be 60, 70, 80 dB of noise reduction. We want it to be kind of natural sounding. So okay, so we've got it 14 dB of range. So when the gate is not open, everything else is 14 dB lower than it was. So this seems to be a pretty natural sounding gate. I might go in and tweak just a little bit more the attack or the release and the hold just a little bit, but for the most part, this sounds pretty good. We'll listen to before and after. There's no gate. And here's with it in. So we might want to turn the hold, make it a little bit faster, and maybe the release just a little bit faster, see if we can get some of that snare out of there. But I'm not terribly concerned about it because it is on its way down. Okay, so that's one way of using it. That's the stock Avid plugin. Now, okay, so let me just show you what I did with the RChannel. This is my next favorite gate to use. Now on the RChannel, you're going to see it like this. I turned the gate on. Oh, you know what? Just let me start from scratch again. I'm going to do factory default on this too, and I'll go through the same process. And then the next gate is a little different here. So first thing I'm going to do is turn gate on instead of expander. I feel like if you want to expand it later, you can, but setting it to the gate is going to be the most accurate way to do it. So let's do this first. Let's turn the sidechain on. Let's turn the sidechain on, and you can see that there is a filter already there waiting for it. Now, probably if you're going to do low stuff, it would be this, but I'm going to grab this, which is that same, it's a more visual representation of what we were doing on the Avid, the D3. So I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to hit the little speaker button, and then we're going to roll this around until, oh, we're also going to narrow the bandwidth so that it's as tight as possible. That's not a very good representation, but we're going to find this frequency until we hear that fundamental. You hear how, and you can see also where the tom, where that fundamental frequency is. So now that we've got that dialed in, let's turn the sidechain listen off, and we can probably just go ahead and close that. Now the gate is reacting to a filtered sidechain, and we're actually pumping in that fundamental frequency. So now we can start doing the extremes. So I'm going to do an extreme release, extreme floor, and extreme threshold, and then we'll move it up until it starts to sound like it's grabbing what we want to grab, and then we'll make it sound more musical. Okay, so now we'll take the release and we'll move it up to where it sounds more natural. Yeah, and then now we're going to take the floor and make it sound more natural. So we don't want to, that's not compressing or not gating at all. And now if you look on the right, well, that's about 12 dB what we had on the other one right there. And I would probably listen to this in the track too to make sure that it doesn't sound too affected. You'd be surprised at how little of the gating you can do. Just because we can gate everything out of the track doesn't necessarily mean that we want to. Okay, so that's how I use the RChannel. Same thing. You go to extremes first, and then you make it sound more musical. Now this guy is new to me. I admit I don't know that much about it, but I do want to approach it the same way that I did before. So we're going to go to the default as usual. And then I'm going to go to the extremes, and then we're going to make it sound more musical. Okay, so here we go with this Slate gate. Let's solo the tom again. So there's that detection filter. That's the same thing we're doing there. I'm going to turn that listen off, and then we're going to listen to the transient detection and see if this helps us. This is what makes this gate really cool. So this gate kind of does what we're making the other ones do by default. So I'm going to leave this. I don't want the attack. This is the attack time, 3 different settings for attack time. This is kind of a really fast one, which you might get a little bit of click. Let's see if we do. There's not a lot of difference between the two, but I'm going to go to the center one just because I don't want it to be terribly clicky if need be. And then we'll do the range. The range is very extreme right now, 100 dB. We probably don't want that, but let's take a listen. We'll make now to the part where we make it sound more musical. I'm going to turn the release up a little bit. And then we're going to turn the range down a little bit. Let's start at that 12 dB mark where we would. Now there's one hit in there that makes me wonder if we need to tighten it up a little bit. We'll see if we can spot it, and then we'll see if we can work on that. What I like to do is, if there's a problem, yo, I'll solve it. No, I'm just kidding. That's another song. What I like to do is, if there's a problem that's going to be the worst thing, I usually like to work on that because everything else should work just fine. So that hit right there seems to be getting lost a little bit. So let's adjust to that. So now they're both hitting, when before they were like, the first hit was kind of like opening the gate. So we just moved the threshold down a little bit, and it seems to be just as operational, but now the whole track is going to be better because we concentrated on the really bad part, or the part that was causing the most problems. So let's listen to this. It's still a little bit of a problem. So, if you wanted to, you could probably make this that hit a little louder if you wanted to, just to see if you could solve that problem. We'll do this, bump it up a little bit and see if that solved it. Okay, so that's 3 different gates and how to use those gates on a tom. So sorry about that. Hopefully this will help. And hey, if you need more help like this, I'd love to help. I've got a resource for you. The link is below this in the description. It's at mixcoach.com/building-blocks. Okay? I'll see you next time. Okay? Like and comment. I'd love to answer your questions if you have any. All right. Talk to you soon.